Hello everyone, and today, or I should say welcome to this episode of this video, and today I'm going to be casting a game between SOS and Tasia, played between IEM. It was, in my opinion, one of the best macro TvP games in IEM Katowice that was played the entire weekend. With that said, I don't think there were any good games at all. But we do know that Blink Stalkers are the $100,000 build. Thanks David Kim, we know what the most valuable build is, thanks to IEM as well. So, hopefully something will be done about that. But in the meantime, I wanted to go over some really interesting things that Tasia does in this TvP between SOS on Yansu. What we'll be going over is Widow Mine coverage. How many Widow Mines do you make? When do you transition out of Widow Mines? And we'll be able to take a rare glimpse at what a 4-base Terran TvP looks like, especially on a smaller map like Yansu. So, I think SOS did a Blink build more than 50% of the time, which is just amazing. And although it's being overused a lot, just like Hellbats back in the day, just like TvP Bio Widow Mine back in the day, which wasn't even that long ago. Now we're seeing Blink being used very often. And the advantages of using a Blink build is that it doesn't have to be all in. You can transition into a plethora of things, such as Blink Colossi really quickly, or you can just transition to chargelot templar. They're both very easy to do because you have the Blink research upgrade, and you don't have to commit to the Blink Stalker attack, and that's what SOS does in this game. And I was just very sad that Tasia lost versus a 2-base Blink Stalker all-in on Frost. I honestly don't know what he could have done better to hold it, except maybe pull some SCVs faster, like have them at auto repair at that one bunker in the main. But even then, after like a second warp-in round, when the Protoss player has like 18 Blink Stalkers, it just becomes like impossible to keep the bunker alive, and he just keeps trading with your army, and it's a pretty easy win if you are able to micro things correctly. So in this game, Tasia is going for a Reaper expand into 3 racks. It's the Bolt build. And what I want to highlight right here is how actively he's scouting around with his Reaper. So he knows that there's a fast expansion coming around, and after you know that you can usually pop back in between 5:15 and 5:30ish to check for his tech. Oracles hit at 6 minutes, and yeah, the fastest Oracle after a fast expand will hit at 6 minutes and 25 seconds. So this gives Tasia's Reaper some time to not immediately have to rescout the main base, and instead he's going to be looking for some proxies, maybe like proxy pylons or anything like that. And he does in fact find a probe with all his hard work. So that's really good for him. I don't think I have to stress how important it is to find a hidden probe that shouldn't be out on the map. Well, it should be because the Protoss wants it to, but the Terran player doesn't want it to be out on the map. So SOS here, yes, I believe that is SOS's Stalker. So he did in fact, like, he went to the watchtower and poked at it to scare the Reaper away, because that's a very common spot for the Reaper to stay. He's being very proactive with his Stalker, and he can do that because of his building placement. Hopefully we'll get a better view of it soon when they highlight the blink going on. But as you can see, he has a Stalker over here and a Mothership Core over here. And he has a lot of vision over here, so that if the Reaper try to jump in over here, then the Stalker and the Mothership Core would be able to turn their attention and basically kill the Reaper by the time it scouts the Twilight, because of the wall off at the back of the main. That is like anti-Reaper wall off. So I like what Taesia's doing over here. He's rallying his Marines to the watchtower. It just gives him vision, and it's not, like I said, it's before a proxy oracle come out, and now this Reaper is going to be scouting. I think Tasia is doing this a bit sloppily. He should have tried to scout in slightly sooner, and unfortunately for him, he goes in this way. And SOS is able to deny this, and Tasia recognizes how important it is to scout for tech, and since he hasn't seen anything except maybe 2 Stalkers and a fast expand, he's going to scan. So he scans, he sees Blink being chronoed out. I think he sees at least one of the gateways. So he knows that it's not going to be a proxy oracle, and he's going to do one of those little pult pushes that do a counterattack as the Blink attack hits. SOS has a very, very cool reaction to the pretty much traditional way of countering it, which is as soon as the Protoss makes his way to your natural, you send out a squad and you counterattack into his natural and do significant damage, so that he can't keep making Blink Stalkers. So SOS is going into Double Forge? Double Forge? Do we see Double Forge? Nope, we don't. Oh yeah, he only goes 1 Forge, and he gets +1 armor and then +1 attack, which is kind of interesting. So, obviously with the Forge, he's not going to be committing, and instead what we see him doing with his Stalkers is he checked this watchtower, and then he went over here, and then he sent another unit over here. So let me just back that up so you guys can see SOS's army movement. And this is the purpose of his Blink Stalker build. It's not to be aggressive because he's adding a Forge and he's going to add a 3rd and 4th gas. It's to take away the map control from the Terran player. So he's going to take this watchtower, and then he's going to take that watchtower as well. And that's really, that just and the Terran player isn't able to do anything because there's no way to know if it's going to be a 2-base Blink Stalker all-in or if it's going to be something like this. Since SOS isn't committing, I guess Tasia kinda knows it because he has 2 bunkers, but he isn't over-committing on defense, so Tasia recognizes that it is not a Blink Stalker all-in. And he did have a spotter marine over here to check for Blink Stalkers coming by, and since he didn't see the Mothership Core and 5 Blink Stalkers, he just saw a couple. That means that the Blink Stalkers were just over here to clear out any possible Marines that could have been used as vision. See, Tasia now knows that Blink is coming, so he takes the watchtower and he takes this location over here. So he has this map vision over here, and he knows anything that's going to come across. So he's basically zoning out possible attack paths. And then SOS does a good job of cleaning this up. Basically the purpose of his Blink Stalkers are to control the map and to clear out watchtowers and deny map vision, and at the same time pick off stray little things. Todd pointed out that this was kind of a weird army movement by SOS, so I just want to say that the reason he does this is because he was looking for a possible counterattack that Pult always does with a couple Marauders and Marines. So instead of being aggressive, he's just looking for the small little force that could be out on the map right now. And if you can pick that off with his Blink Stalkers, then that's a pretty good trade because he is transitioning out of this, and in fact getting Templar archives. So, Widow Mines, as we know, are pretty good units now because of the shield buff, and we're finally able to see a game. I've been waiting for this the entire IEM, same with Todd, where a Protoss player goes chargelot Archon, and you can get Widow Mines, because I never knew exactly how many Widow Mines to get when to get the Widow Mines and when to stop making Widow Mines. And all three of those questions will be answered in this game by Tasia. So, now, since Tasia knows that the Blink Stalker pressure is gone, I believe he moves out with, I don't know if it's probably, I think it's with his combat shields. So he knows that there's no Blink Stalker pressure coming. He didn't overcommit too heavily with bunkers, which I don't quite know how safe that is, because SOS could have very well hidden a bunch of gateways with another pylon that Tasia didn't scout. So this is kind of tricky, but I think Tasia is metagaming SOS ever so slightly, because it is a best of 5 and SOS is up just 1-0. So if SOS wins another game with the Blink Stalker on, it's going to be highly unlikely that he does it again in the best of 5 series. So Tasia, he's going to start to take the map control back when he gets combat shields. He sends a small squad out to clear this watchtower, and then he's going to send the rest of his army. And he does a stim. This is very important, and Tasia takes advantage of the fact that the mothership core has no energy. So the mothership core does a recall, and then it does a photon. No, oh my god, I can't name it. It does a spell that slows you down. I don't know why I'm blinking out on it. Time warp, that's it. It does a time warp spell. It's 100 energy. And it does a recall, which is another 100 energy. So the mothership core has 0 energy right now. This is fantastic for Tasia because he has this big army and there's no photon overcharge to scare it away. So even though he did have to stim, it was completely worth it to drain the mothership core of all its energy. And now, like Todd mentioned, he has to build 2 sentries for defense, and he's going to have to play very, very defensive because he doesn't have photon overcharge. And SOS knows this, and he does build an additional cannon as well. And he tries to warp in as many units as possible. Tasia, though, he doesn't want to attack immediately. He needs to wait for medevacs because he did stim with his army. Let me just go back to see how, like, normally a Protoss player isn't gonna let that happen. Like, he can usually time warp and then blink back and escape with his entire army. But Tasia was able to catch SOS out of position with his small Blink Stalker force. And I think he does that by sending a few units. As we see, he's just sending 2 Marauders and 2 Marines to the Watchtower, and he keeps the rest of his units outside of Watchtower range and also in a safe defensive position. So SOS is going to see these units and he's going to be like, oh wow, Tasia, you noob. I'm just going to blink some stalkers here and kill all your units for free without losing anything. Good trade, right? Well, as soon as he loses the Watchtower, he has no Watchtower vision. Tasia moves into the range of the Watchtower, and he moves to attack this army. Ugh, sorry. I think I'm kind of getting sick. Ugh. I feel horrible. I sound horrible. Alright, so SOS no longer has Watchtower vision, but he's still moving his army to attack this, because as far as he knows, he didn't see any other army that was threatening him. So Tasia then, he hasn't stimmed yet, and now he stims. About the time that the mothership core, like, he waits as long as possible to stim so that he can try to hunt down these units. And because he stimmed and SOS is basically forced to react to save his army, he reacts by throwing down a time warp and then recalling his army. Which, to be fair, is very smart and also very, very risky. I think, well, either way, he would have either had to use 2 time warps or to time warp and recall, like what he did to save it. Like, the good thing about this is that he didn't lose his army. The bad thing is he has no energy on his mothership core. So stimming like that by Tasia was a very good call. It's kind of tricky to know when to stim like that because you don't have medvacs and you kind of don't know how many stalkers he has. But Tasia has such good game sense that he knows that since there hasn't been any pressure done within the past couple minutes, that SOS has only made a handful of stalkers. So any stalkers he sees, he'll be able to fight head on. And Tasia here, he's doing a great job of scouting possible locations for probes and pylons. That Marine basically wanted to scout the third base and then scout if there was any pylons over here on the corner, which is a common spot actually on this map. And Tasia also has another Marine at the third base. It's very important to have spotters at the third so you know which third the Protoss takes and if the Protoss takes a third at all. Because like in a couple of minutes, for example, and this has saved me a bunch of times, if in like 12 when it's like 13 minutes and you have 2 spotters at the third base and there's no expansion, there's not even like any pylons there to fake an expansion, you know that's going to be a 2-base blink build. And if the Protoss has charge, then you know that's going to be Templar and Archons. And if you see a bunch of blink stalkers and Colossi, then you know it's going to be a 2-base blink all-in. So it's a very easy way to scout out 2-base all-ins, so you have ample time to prepare for them, and to be able to see where and when the Protoss takes his third. So Tasia, he doesn't know if SOS is going for blink or not, or for Colossi or Templar, because he doesn't see anything other than those 5 stalkers that were recalled back. So he ends up scanning the natural. He gets lucky. Well, he doesn't really get lucky. Let's say that Templar Archives wasn't there, and let's just pretend I'm like hiding it with my mouse. You can't see it. What you can see though is a bunch of chargelots, or a bunch of zealots, and a bunch of sentries. And if you click the zealots, you can see that they don't have charge upgraded, but you can see that he does have a bunch of zealots that were not being invested into more blink stalkers, sentries, and colossi. So you can safely assume by seeing just stalkers, zealots, and sentries that SOS is going for Templar tech, because you wouldn't have that many zealots if you were going for colossi, and there would be a colossi or an immortal out already for defense for the 10:30 timing, which is in fact gonna hit now. And Tasia also sees that SOS's army isn't very threatening, so he's gonna be able to basically macro up from here, and he takes a fairly early third base, and that's because SOS kind of set himself behind by opening up for a blink build and not doing any damage. That was an entire upgrade and some army supply that was not useful at all. In simpler terms, think of it as making, let's say, 4 Reapers and not doing any damage with it early on if you're doing a Reaper expansion. And then you try to expand behind it and you don't do any damage at all. So you're not out of the game, but you are slightly behind. And that's one of the reasons why Tasia is able to safely take his third over here. I personally don't really like taking my third over here because, well, I like taking my third at this location, but I don't like taking it on the open ground like that, because sometimes a Protoss does have a pylon out on the map and he'll send a zealot there to deny the third, and it's very susceptible to 2-base counterattacks like Blink Colossi. If you don't evacuate the third immediately, you can and will lose the command center, as we've seen in multiple games from IEM. I can't name them off the top of my head, but I know those games exist. I think it happened to Polt once already. Yeah, it was Polt versus Deer, I think, in one of their games. Huh, that's so vague. Anyways, alright, so let's go on to the game. Oh, that was gonna be my point. So that's why I don't like to build the third command center there, but Tasia, he's already on top of it. He has some units here, and he did also scout the mini-map, or he scouted this half of the map with his Marauder Marine Force. Let me just highlight it where he did it. Okay, so like right here, after he forced the photon, the time warp, and the recall, those spells are so hard to remember. He does scout around the minimap, and he ends up getting a pylon. But the more important thing is that he does scout for these kinds of pylons with his force before the medevacs are out. And he doesn't instead try to like stim up and try to kill some units. Then he also sends 2 Marines to the 3rd base, and he takes the watchtower. He would also take this watchtower as well, but it's not completely necessary because he does have map control, and he's done a good job of seeing basically all the other parts of the map that it would be very unlikely that this watchtower would be needed immediately, but it is very important to take it. Alright, so that's right when Tasia, he was clearing out the other areas of the minimap and taking his 3rd base safely. And he has some units positioned there. I think it's for Zealots and not for a Warp Prism, because if it was for a Warp Prism, he would have more Marines. But it looks more like a anti-Zealot force. See, only 2 Marines. So Tasia's in a pretty good position now because the Blink build did do no damage. Basically, this is what it looks like if you're able to hold off a Blink build without it killing any SCVs or army. And SOS wasn't trying to be aggressive with this Blink build, so easy peasy for Tasia. And as soon as Tasia scans and scouts that he is in fact going Templar, he is going to start making Widow Mines almost immediately. So he already has the reactor being made on the factory, and then he scouts the Templar archives. And what's cool about this is, by having the reactor made on the factory already, and then by scanning at this timing, basically Tasia is able to, like, if the Protoss player was going for Blink Colossi, all Tasia would have to do is lift up the reactor factory and make a 2nd starport. And if SOS is going for Storm and he's delaying the robotics facility, you just leave the reactor on and make Widow Mines. And the simple transition for when the Protoss is transitioning into Colossi is to just lift up the factory and add a 2nd starport. It's very, very, I guess, an elegant solution to like optimizing what you can do with all your little add-ons and buildings and stuff. So his first 2 Widow Mines are coming out, which is very, very good. And we know that since there's a Templar archives out and there's a bunch of Zealots and Stalkers out, that the Protoss has most likely skipped the robotics facility in favor of more units to defend against this early aggression stim timing attack with the first 2 medvacs. If he did get a robotics facility very early on and still go chargelot and storm, he would most likely die because he wouldn't have enough. It would cut into his army too much. So SOS, he's doing a great job at denying Tasia's scouting. He's like taking the watchtower, he's clearing out the Marines at the 3rd base. All very good by SOS. So it makes him a top level player. And Tasia, he's just being active on the minimap and he's trying to scare the Stalker away. It's basically just like a battle for the watchtower and other important areas of the map. And Tasia, he's also getting +2 attack and +1 armor at the same time, instead of getting +1 attack, then +1 armor, then +2 attack and +2 armor, and then +3 attack and +3 armor. I favor the 2-1 over the 1-1 and then the 2-2 because it allows, if you're on 2-1 upgrades, it allows you to get your upgrade out faster, first of all. And armor isn't really that important as attack is, in my opinion, for kiting units and also taking damage as well. Because you're kiting units, you're not going to take that much damage in the first place. So I really like to get, basically, in order to make the timings line up like perfectly, it takes 160 seconds to research +1/+1. So I'll get my engineering bay at a regular time, and then I will start +1 attack, and then when +1 attack is 60% done, I will add an engineering bay, and then after +1 attack finishes, I will start +2 attack, and then I will add a 2nd engineering bay, which takes 35 seconds to build, and then I will start +1 armor. And how this lines up is that +2 attack takes 190 seconds to build, and +1 armor takes 160 seconds to build. So let's just add +1 armor with 160 seconds to an engineering bay, which is 35 seconds. So that's a total of 195 seconds to build both an engineering bay and to research +1 attack, or +1 armor. So that's how you like get the upgrades to line up really nicely, by starting +2 attack, and as soon as you start +2 attack, start an engineering bay, and when that engineering bay is done, start +1 attack, and then 2 want to line up exactly the same time, like within 5 seconds of each other. And then 3-2 is a bit off, but that's alright, because when you're 3-2, you're basically maxed out, and you won't have a big upgrade deficit as compared to getting 1-1 first off of a single engineering bay. And that's also another reason Taesia's getting double upgrades 12 minutes into the game, very, very early. That's another reason why Tasia isn't dropping SOS. I guess the two big reasons is that he's investing into upgrades faster, so he doesn't necessarily have enough army supply to be aggressive. He expanded off of 3 Raxes to his third base, so he only now has 5 Raxes starting to produce units, and SOS is only on 2 bases, so you never want to drop a 2 base Protoss in an even game, because the Protoss is going to have his units spread out evenly between the 2 bases, and they're going to be able to reinforce each other and help each other out if one of them is being overwhelmed by, let's say, a doom drop in the main or a full frontal attack in the natural. It's a lot easier to reinforce either point, so you want to start dropping when the Protoss player takes his third and starts to extend his reach farther out onto the map and spread him thin. So as we can see here, even though Taesia's done an excellent job, he's checked this part of the map multiple times, SOS has still managed to sneak pylons into very, very annoying places. And Taesia's still doing a good job of denying them. Good for him. But SOS is like, he's just been so proactive by sneaking probes out and getting these pylons out. It's kind of amazing, and I just want to point that out. Oh, my sinuses. Alright, so Tasia, he's also getting +1 attack, and he's getting 3 more barracks, so he is getting ready to transition to the late game, and he's going to start a 4th base pretty soon. And this is pretty good for Tasia because he has 3 bases up, and SOS hasn't even started his 3rd base. And this is mainly in part due to the fact that SOS did no damage with his Blink Stalker, and he also got slightly more behind because yeah, so the Blink Stalker, just getting that upgrade delays your splash damage by like at least like 2.5 minutes, because it takes 170 seconds for Blink to research plus a couple chrono boosts. So that's why Tasia is able to have such a big army, and he's able to go around the minimap and like take the watchtowers, clear out pylons. He missed that one sadly, and then also deny the 3rd base locations and also have a Marine there. And he also knows that SOS is doing Templars, so he's starting Widow Mine production. Widow Mines. And Widow Mines are really great. You make like 4 to 6 of them. And since the Protoss has no detection, it forces him to get a robotics facility before he's able to move out on the map. So you can further delay. What the Widow Mines do is they further delay the Protoss taking a 3rd base, which is pretty awesome. Hold on, I just want to... Okay, I am recording. I'm not losing my mind. Alright, so yeah, that's what the main objective of the Widow Mines is to, you build like 4 to 6 to 8, basically as many until the Protoss starts getting a robotics facility, and there it is already, and the Observer's getting chrono boosted out. But what the Widow Mines do is they further delay the Protoss from taking his 3rd base, because you can just put the Widow Mines right outside of his natural, like what Tasia is doing. I believe he has like... Okay, so he has 4 Widow Mines out here, and he can just like plop them down, and it basically prevents the Protoss from attacking into you. So the optimal response is to get a fast observer out and then just try to clear them out with the Blink Stalkers. And SOS is kind of panicking here. Tasia, a bit sloppy by him. I guess he just it's been a long day. He did have to play that amazing series versus Life. Yeah. He did play the series versus Life right before, and those were pretty intense games that I think would have shaken anyone's nerves, because Life did make the big mistake of exploding all his banelings on accident, hitting the wrong hotkey, and just losing his entire army for free. So Tasia did kind of get lucky in even more than one game. He got lucky in 2 games. So Tasia's probably a bit shaken up. He sent units here, but they were just slightly out of range of the Zealots. So the Zealots were able to do a significant amount of damage, which is not cool. Could have been avoided. And what Tasia's doing here, he is abusing the low to high ground area, and he has his Widow Mines on the back, so when Zealots rush up, they're going to get shot, and then Tasia can just pick up and leave. But this is kind of risky to do, because there are Blink Stalkers out on the map, and if the Blink Stalkers were targeting the medevacs would die, and then the units would die as well. And that high ground abuse would be short-lived. So that's one of the things I don't like about this engagement. But SOS, he did not, if we take a small look at what he was targeting, he was not targeting the he was not targeting the medevacs at all with his Blink Stalkers. So Tasia got a bit fortunate with that, because SOS was being a bit negligent. So just watch his Blink Stalkers. My mouse will be here, so you don't get oh my god. Alright, so these Blink Stalkers, 1 volley goes to units, 2 volleys go to units, 3 volleys go to another unit, and then another unit before Tasia picks up and leaves. That was 4 volleys that could have been used, 2 each to each medevac, to kill them off really fast, and to just basically get units for free. And that's what Blink Stalkers are really good at doing, is that they can focus fire medevacs relatively quickly and drop aggression and stuff such as this very fast if the Protoss is paying attention. But Tasia got slightly lucky that SOS wasn't paying attention on his part. He was doing something else. And so he's able to live with both medevacs and a bunch of units as well. At this point of the game, Tasia's like, he's in a good position because SOS's third has been delayed, but is certainly a scrappy game, and we can definitely see Tasia, he's starting to make these small mistakes, and just he's kind of like falling apart by himself. It's not anything SOS is doing, he's just getting tired, and like he's been playing all day, and he has to try to like stay closest to his 100% as he can throughout the day. It's probably getting really late in Katowice as well. But Tasia does still have very, very strong fundamentals, and one of those fundamentals is stimming a small group of units to try to pick off Templar or gas-based units. And what he does here is he sends this small group of units ahead, and the thing he targets are not Zealots, but are Stalkers. And it was very subtle, but you could see that SOS, or Tasia, was targeting a Stalker and SOS blinked it away. So, just keep looking, keep looking, keep looking. Oh, oops. It's very, very hard to control this from a YouTube video. So like right there, that's when you attack this Stalker and SOS blinks it away. Right there. Just that one Stalker. So that was Tasia firing down Stalkers over Zealots, and that's just a little thing that is very, very good to do. Because if you do kill a Stalker, it's better than a Zealot because it does cost gas. And so now Tasia just fighting into these Widow Mines. Oh, I think I have to sneeze again. No, I don't. Alright, so this is what happens when a Protoss player tries to fight into Widow Mines. He's not going to get a cost-efficient engagement off because the Widow Mines just shred the Zealots up so quickly. And as you can see, the supply difference is phenomenal. It's really, really big. And so Tasia's still making Widow Mines, but that's because he is on 3 bases and SOS hasn't transitioned into Colossi yet. And part of the reason why he's still making Widow Mines is that it's forcing SOS to transition into Colossi tech to deal with these Widow Mines. And SOS can't transition into Colossi tech off of only 2 bases. He just can't afford it. So it's really spreading him thin. And I like that about what Taesia's decision making is doing. And then you can also like just scan the observer and try to snipe it off, and when that happens, then the Widow Mines just have free reign again. So that's why Tasia is still making like another 4 Widow Mines, and even 2 more in the production tab. As we can see here, it's really cute by SOS being able to get 2 off. So it's good micro by him. He's had great billing stalker micro the entire tournament. And as we can see again, Tasia, he's target firing an Archon instead of just A moving and kiting backwards. And so he's able to, oh, he doesn't get that Archon off. But these Widow Mine shots will end up doing pretty good damage. It's like at least 1 Zealot kill for free. And oh my god, my voice is dying. So Tasia. So the main goal of this is to kind of like place Widow Mines in between SOS's 3rd base and his natural to cut him off, and then to deny the 3rd base. That's all Tasia wants to do. He doesn't want to end the game. He just wants to deny the 3rd base. And he gets to do that again. Because these Widow Mines, they're just a great buffer against chargelot Archon. And so now SOS is being forced to get Colossi tech off of 2 bases after he's already gotten chargelot Templar tech. So he's like, this is an awful position for him. And Tasia thinks he's able to, he kind of overextends very, very much in this engagement. Kind of misjudges it. He does kill off like 2 high Templar, but he loses more than half of his bio army. And because of this 1 overextension, SOS is now able to take his 3rd relatively securely. Because there's not going to be that much aggression coming from Tasia after he loses half of his army. Basically for free. So like that was the best possible thing that SOS could have done. So now Tasia, he's kind of like being a lot more aggressive, but I don't really like this because he just lost like half of his army. But I guess he just wants to use the Widow Mines, force SOS into the Widow Mine line, and also to prevent the 3rd from going up. Because if Tasia didn't do this, the 3rd would be started already. But because of this, it's distracting SOS. He targeted down an Archon again, and then he targeted 1 Templar. The other one morphed into an Archon. And these Widow Mine shots, you just can't fight into it. And so Tasia's able to take those friendly fire, but he's able to take decent engagements. But a lot of friendly fire did hit Tasia. So now, like since he lost the bulk of his army, SOS can safely take his 3rd base. And so that was kind of a sloppy mistake by Tasia. But on top of that, he's taking his 4th base. Oh my god. Alright, he's taking his 4th base now. That could have started a bit sooner if he was on top of his macro, but as you can see, he's getting kind of tired out, and this is something you can't really avoid when you're playing in when you're playing like 10 hours in a tournament. It just wears you down. We can see endurance playing a big role on Taesia's performance here. His 4th base and just all his stuff is kind of just delayed. So now that Tasia has lost the bulk of his army and SOS is taking his 3rd, he's going to start doing 2-pronged attacks to try to spread SOS out as much as possible. Notice how it's 17 minutes in the game. SOS is taking his 3rd now. It started probably closer to 17 minutes, which is still a very, very, very late 3rd for the Protoss. He's almost mined out in his main. He's going to be mined out of his natural soon. So that was very good by Tasia by denying SOS's 3rd for that long. And now that SOS does take his 3rd, he has to position his army to keep it alive. And what that allows Tasia to do is he's going to start to drop now. Like, taking the 3rd base signals to Tasia that he is available to drop. And even though there's defense there, he can clean it up and then just drop again. and that forces SOS to commit more defense over here, so that the future drops won't do a lot of damage. Yeah, so like SOS's army, this is a double drop, and as you can see, his army was positioned right outside of his third, but it forced his entire army almost to his natural, like just as a precaution if he couldn't clean it up. He can clean it up now, but it did kind of force his army out of position just ever so slightly, and that basically was like SOS kind of freaking out because he's in a terrible spot right now, and even though and the only reason that supply is so close is because Taesia's macro is slipping, and because he was able to take a couple really good engagements that I think were more of a mistake by Taesia's part. Big mistake by Tasia. He's not using this factory anymore. Oh, there we go. And he's probably going to cancel that reactor on the starport and lift it over there. Yep, there we go. Yeah, he realizes his mistake. But yeah, this is so like he sees a Colossi now. His Colossi tech, SOS Colossi tech, Colossi tech is starting. So now Taesia's going to start producing 4 Vikings at a time. And he's been getting +1 ship weapons as well the entire time, even though SOS didn't, like, he still had Templar tech. Tasia still got +1 attack. That's why he's able to get +2 attack right now, in preparation for the Colossi switch. So SOS, he's finally able to stabilize on 3 bases, but Tasia, since he's been able to deny the 3rd base for so long, he's also been able to take his 4th base. So Tasia is now up a base, which is really great. It means you can trade big armies and remax, and the Protoss won't be able to remax as fast because you'll be a base up. And if you can be a base up, if you can be in this kind of a position in TvP, you'll have a good chance of winning the late game, because I just don't think you can win even bases versus a Protoss. You're gonna have to do some sort of damage to slow his army, or to kill a significant chunk of his army off, so that he can't replenish it as fast as you. That's basically how you win this. And okay, that's good for Tasia. It's like small things like that pick off small amounts of units, and you just gotta like trade for those gas units really effectively, and like do small engagements. Like if you can pick off a Colossi with your Vikings, you can pick off some Templar with your Bioforce or some Ghosts. Every single unit that it does, it wears Protoss down ever so slightly, so that for when the big battle comes, the Protoss will have like that many units less that they can remax out on, or that they will even have in their army. So this is SOS knows that he needs to kill this 4th base before Tasia kills, or before it gets fully saturated, because then Tasia's economy is going to be too great for SOS to deal with. His main is already mined out, and he's barely on 2 bases. His natural is going to be mined out relatively soon. And Tasia has he has his 3rd base, he has his 4th base, so he has 2 fresh bases, and he still has a couple mineral patches in his natural. So he's in a great economic position here. So that's why SOS feels the need to push out with a bunch of Archons and Colossi. This is basically his best chance of basically like catching Tasia off guard, or being able to just deny the 4th base before Tasia's economy kicks in from it. And this engagement is just horrible for Tasia, which really sucks because it's so easy for the Terran to mess up. So we see the stim. All these Marines are in front, all the Ghosts are behind, and these Vikings are going to get sniped off by the Stalkers and the Archons. So just looking at how this battle looks right now, you know that it's not going to go well, because all these Marines are going to be shredded by the Colossi and the chargelots, the Archons. And then SOS, to his credit, he also does have some Templar that are coming in from the flank. So Tasia he just eats some storms, all of his Vikings die. And this looks awful for Tasia, absolutely awful. And he's actually behind in supply after he was up almost 30 before the engagement. And the only reason Tasia is able to survive this, he makes the conscious decision to pull all his SCVs. He knows he hasn't lost yet, because he still has 2 fresh mining bases, while SOS only has 1. That's how important having an extra base or having a fourth base while the Protoss only has 3 bases is. Because Taesia's able to do stuff like pull his SCVs, and he's still gonna be able to produce enough units to stay alive. So, I'm trying to think. Oh, I should drink my tea. Hold on. So SOS goes around. He does good damage in the natural, kills off all the SCVs, but he did trade units for SCVs, so he knows his army's a bit smaller. So he does back off the safe way. He doesn't go this way, so his Colossi get sniped by Vikings. He goes this way, so that his Colossi are safe. And then he hits the third, and does even more damage to Tasia. The best case scenario would be to cut off a couple of charge lots into the mineral line, and then back off with his army. We'll see if he does that. He does kind of do that, but then his army gets stuck out of position. I think he was A-moving, and that's why the Colossi were attacking units instead of, like, his Stalkers were over here as well. So he has to get out of there really fast. Very, very good storm by SOS, and at the same time, sucks by Tasia that he had to eat that storm. And it's a very, very scrappy battle here, and Taesia's basically able to win because of his cloaked ghosts. They do a very high DPS to gateway units, and he has a defender's advantage and a bigger economy, so he's able to reinforce quicker and more. Actually, if those ghosts weren't cloaked, no. See, he has enough units, and the ghosts do really good damage against zealots and stalkers. So Taesia's barely able to hold that off, and I would almost call that an overextension by SOS, but it did look more like a mistake because his units were, I think they were A-moving away, and they engaged with Taesia's army, and SOS certainly did not want that to happen. So now SOS is taking his fourth base, but it's a lot riskier for him to take his fourth base now than it would have been to take it when he had his army. Like, if he was able to escape with that army, he would be in a great position to take his fourth base. But because of that overextension, because of that misclick, that A move backwards, he lost part of his army, and he took a very cost inefficient engagement, and now that's why Taesia's back ahead in supply. And so what Taesia's doing now, he knows that SOS, he's barely mining from any bases, so he knows his economy sucks. So he knows that SOS has to stay on chargelot Archon, or else he's just gonna die, because Taeja can produce 4 Vikings at a time, and SOS can probably only do like 1 Colossi and a couple Stalkers at a time. So that's why Taesia's making the decision to sacrifice these Vikings right now in favor of economy. He gets 1 probe before Blink Stalkers come. So it didn't really do that much, but that's the decision making behind what Taeja was doing. Not as effective as some other small things, but oh, actually, let me rephrase that. So what Taeja was doing with his Vikings was to land them at the third to bait SOS's army as far away as possible from this double drop that was coming in. So let's just confirm my theory. These two, if we look on the minimap, we see the 2 Vikings going this way, and then we're going to see 2 Medvex shoot forward over here very, very soon. And basically the Vikings provide a diversion, and then, okay, so he doesn't drop, he just moves to the watchtower, and then he moves to the 4th base. And, oh no, he does drop. Wow. Alright, so the SOS's army is all the way over here just because of those 2 Vikings, and so Taeja, he speed boosts his medvacs over here because he knows that gives him enough time to get a snipe off on the 4th base, which is very, very important for SOS because he has no economy right now. I don't think he even has enough economy to spare to support upgrades as well, and Taesia's gonna be 3-3 as well. Yeah, so like, see, his army's just over here. It could have gotten over here and scared off the units if they weren't so far out of position from those 2 Vikings. And now SOS only has 3 bases, Taeja has 4. He's looking like he's in a great position. And even though SOS was very close to winning, Taeja was able to hold it off, get some good engagements, and SOS is overextension that prevented him from taking the 4th base. And now Tasia, I think he's going for the killing blow here. SOS can't produce any Colossi, just keeping that in mind. So that's why Tasia, he's not producing that many Vikings. He's still producing Vikings, but he's mainly focused on Bio and Ghosts. 3 medvacs and a bunch of Ghosts and Marines and Marauders. Because that's all SOS can afford right now. And Tasia kind of has SOS in a checkmate, and as long as he doesn't eat too many storms, get some good EMPs off, he's going to be able to win this game. And SOS realizes that, so he's trying to like squeeze out a Colossi or two to make the battle go better. But it's just, he just doesn't have, he's spread way too thin for this. So, like, he knows that he basically can't defend both bases at the same time. So he's gonna opt to defend his 4th base because it is the fresher base. That's a nice storm off, but okay, it kind of kills a couple units because Tasia walked into it. And it's SOS is really good high templar positioning. He had one behind the brushes and above or on the high ground. So like, it gives you the least possible time to react to the high templar. Which is good by SOS. So Tasia, he's going to go for the 4th base because he saw that SOS's army was over here. He did a scan earlier. I'll just highlight that. So he'll, like, SOS's entire army is over here. Tasia, he scans it, he sees that. He also gets a observer. barely gets it. And then now he's going to go. Is that a Zealot? Yeah, so that was a Zealot at the Watchtower, so SOS was able to see that Tasia's army is now going to his 3rd, but Tasia has the head start, and he's going to be able to kill that 3rd base. Because SOS's army is at his 4th base. It's out of position, and he's not even... Okay, now he's moving it. But this is a good position for Tasia, because SOS has to funnel his army through these 2 little chokeways over here. And that should allow him to get good EMPs off, but he kind of gets the majority of his army out on the open ground. So this is going to be the final battle. Let's see how it goes. And Tasia does have a winning composition. He has enough Ghosts, and he has a significantly larger Bio army to deal with SOS's army. So SOS basically needs to get as many storms as possible off. And he was like dancing around with the High Templar because there was a Ghost there, so that's why he couldn't get him off immediately. But now goes the storms. Tasia some good preemptive splitting, and basically when there's only Templar left, and you can just dodge the storms and keep all your units in red health, then you're gonna be able to win the engagement, and that's what Tasia does right there. So that was a very good game played by Tasia, and unfortunately, I'm gonna be very sad to see him go. He's probably going to retire after his WCS run finishes. But he was a very solid player, very good at getting to the late game and taking really good cost-efficient trades. And he also had very solid mechanics as well. And to recap what happened this game, Tasia was able to defend SOS's 2-base Blink Stalker build. And I say defend because SOS wasn't trying to be aggressive with it at all. And then as a result, he was able to use Widow Mines to deny SOS's 3rd base further. SOS took a 3rd base at 16 minutes or 17 minutes into the game, and that's at least 3 to 4 minutes late from the latest expansion that you want to take. And as a result, Tasia was able to keep SOS pinned down to 3 bases, while SOS couldn't, or while Tasia takes his own 4th base, and SOS wasn't able to take his 4th base because he had no army and no economy to produce an army because he was only on 3 bases. And as we saw at the end of the game, Tasia was able to see where SOS's army was and then go to the spot that SOS's army wasn't, which was the 3rd base, and end the game because he was in a economic position. And I guess another important thing to note is the overextensions that occurred from both players. Tasia, well, it wasn't really an overextension. An overextension when he had the Widow Mines at the natural. So about this time, Yeah, I believe it's about now, his overextension with the Widow Mines, when he places them. There we go. Yeah, so he just lost a significant portion of his units, and so SOS is able to take that third base because of that overextension by Tasia, and by SOS getting a good engagement off. So there was this overextension, and then there was another well, it wasn't an overextension, it was SOS taking a really good battle, Tasia just completely messing up because his units were just in a horrible position. Oh, I wish it was easier to fast forward through this. There we go. Alright, so he did have an okay unit comp, but his Vikings were right next to the Stalkers and Archons. His Marines were all in the front, and his Ghosts were not able to do anything versus the High Templar. He did get blinking and EMPs off on the gateway units, but not the High Templar. And his Vikings just dying, his units getting a full Storm Blast. Just the worst possible engagement for Tasia ever. And Tasia's able to hold and stabilize because he does have 4 bases. He has a higher economy and he has defender's advantage, so that's why pulling all of his SCVs to help protect and stay alive is an alright move, because he still has 2 mining bases and he has a bunch of mules to recover from losing all these SCVs. But he's still in an awful spot. And this overextension by SOS, I think, costs him the game. Because, like right now at the third, because if he didn't lose this army and was able to escape with it, he would have been able to take his 4th base. He'd have enough of an army to secure both his 3rd and his 4th base. But right here, he just got caught with his pants down. I wish I could fast forward or do that better, but we're just gonna have to watch this again. And then I'll just pause it when he does do it so you guys can see it clearly. And seeing it repetitive amount of times helps embed it to memory. So SOS's army, he's gonna split a chargelot off, that chargelot over there, and right now he should back up. There's no reason why he should be attacking these geysers. Tasia's army's coming. SOS is gonna move back right now. See, he's moving back, but his units are selected, and he just attack moves. So his Stalkers attack the Vikings, his Colossi attack the Bio. So even though he was backing out, and he would have been able to back out fine if he was on move command, he doesn't attack move, back out, retreat, and that doesn't end up working too well. Basically, he was gonna back up until here, until his reinforcements came, these chargelots and Templar, and then he was gonna attack again, like now. But Tasia's able to take this battle a lot better because he was able to snipe all the Colossi off, and he was able to catch the Blink Stalkers completely out of position, so they had to blink into a defensive stance instead of blinking offensively. So this is basically the game right here, because Tasia has more economy, and he was able to kill off SOS's army, and Tasia can replenish his army faster because of SOS's one mistake that cost him. That basically cost him the game. Alright. So, thank you for watching this video today, and I hope it was informative. If you guys have any other videos, like from games from IEM, that you want me to go over and break down, I'd be happy to do it. Just link the game, and I'll get to it when I have some free time. Alright, happy laddering, and happy